The two best words in sports, Game 7, Edmonton Oilers, Vancouver Canucks, Game 7, second round of the playoffs tonight in Vancouver. We'll break down that game as well as preview the round 3 matchup between the Florida Panthers and New York Rangers. Guys, welcome into Puck Time. I'm Andrew, and I have Carmine with me here. And happy Monday, guys. Looking forward to a Game 7 tonight. Carmine, of course, we have client plays. We have best bets, but we do have lots of plays, props we can give out here to the viewers and listeners here on WagerTalk TV. But Carm, how is your weekend and how are you feeling as we approach Game 7, Canucks and Oilers?
Andrew, weekend was good. I think more winners than losers, and that's always a good thing. But I'm feeling good. In NHL, 4-1 between between Friday and Saturday in those games. So I'm pretty happy about that. I want to close it off with a big Game 7, man. I was hoping, obviously, because I had to play on the Oilers, that the Oilers would win Game 6. I didn't expect it to be a 5-1 game, but the Oilers. It's the way this series has gone, in the sense of not the final score, because every game has been a 1-goal game, but in that I've thought the whole time that the Oilers have been the best team in this series. And Vancouver fans, you can get mad at me, but if you had not come back from I think a 4-1 deficit, you guys would have been done by now. I think they flexed their muscle in Game 6. Obviously, having the last change and the line matchups really helped the Oilers, and their big guns came to play. And then not the best game from Shelovs in goal for the Canucks. He allowed 5 goals on 27 shots in Game 6, and he's named the starting goalie. It has been confirmed just before he went to air that he's a starting goalie tonight. Demko obviously wasn't ready to return. It was a stretch he would even return. And then DeSmith has been so-so in the playoffs. So I feel bad for Vancouver from a goaltending aspect, because it reminds me of the Pittsburgh Penguins when they ran out of goalies in the playoffs. And their playoff season came to an end. Does Vancouver's come to an end tonight? I think if you look at Andrew and you base it just on reactions of Game 6, you're going to think that the Oilers roll into Vancouver and win it. I always say just draw a line through a game that has a big score line where a team wins by 4 or 5 goals, because that's not the norm. It hasn't been the norm for Vancouver. They've been involved in 1-goal games not just all series long, but all playoffs long. It's just the Oilers' big guns came. And they've played well in Vancouver as well too. They're playing extremely well right now. I think you could look at the tough thing is this line is floating. It started at 140, and I was surprised that it went to like 160 on Sunday, and it's hovering around there. I'm seeing some places at 165. Overreaction, maybe, or maybe they're looking at it that the Oilers close it out tonight and are the better team. I think we're going to see a close affair, Andrew, and even the total started at 6, and I was leaning to the under, and I thought about making it a play at 6, and then the 6s were gone, and it's 5.5 over 20 cents, and I don't like the total at all now, because there's ways to get to 6, there's ways to lose with 5.5. Obviously, in a 3-2 game with an empty netter, that 5 over the under 5.5 loses. The over 5.5 obviously gets there, but at 6, the empty netter gets you a push. I just think the Oilers are the play here. It's been a great season for Vancouver. I'm pretty sure they're not going to roll over and play dead tonight. Talkett's not going to let them roll over and play dead, and this team just comes at you each and every shift. But Oilers are just playing well, Andrew. And then final word from me before I throw it to you is Stuart Skinner. I didn't think he was going to play Game 6. He comes in Game 6 after having a couple of days off, and it looked like the Stuart Skinner of old. He played extremely well, and that just bodes well for them tonight, because the Oilers know that they have someone in nets that they're confident with, who won 12 games in a row at one point during the regular season. And they can do what they do. If the Canucks take any penalties, that Oilers power play is going to kill them tonight. Give me the Oilers here I like the first period play in this one because I think the on the money line, I think if you're going to bet the Oilers, they can't fall behind in this game. So if you're going to bet the Oilers to win the game, you should take them in the first period because I think that is the play you got to look at.
Great stuff, Carmen. I agree with a lot of what you just said there. We have seen some line movement as far as the side and the total in this game. And Carmen, if we think back as Canadians, I was quite a bit younger. So were you, of course. But this Vancouver team, man, the last time they were in a game 7, for anybody that doesn't know, the city was an absolute riot after. There was rioting all over the entire city. The city almost burnt down because they lost
Remember
that
that.
game 7 against Boston, man. And I'll tell you what, if that happens again, it's going to be a problem in that city. Vancouver, one of the nicest cities in Canada, and could be in trouble, man. But one thing I think I will say just to start is that no matter what happens, and of course it's easy for us to say this now, we're sitting here in game 7. No matter what happens, Carm, I would definitely say that the price at the beginning of the series was wrong, was off. Because it was in the late minus 200s. Just absolutely thinking that they were going to roll over the Vancouver Canucks. Of course, it's kind of like a price is something shaped around what people are willing to bet, and people were willing to bet that price, thinking that Vancouver will get rolled and walked all over, and they certainly didn't. And you mentioned, Carm, the 1-goal games, right? And what's so interesting is you look at this and nobody wants to ever. I'm never, ever a fan of turning a plus price into a big minus. But if anybody wanted to do like a +1 line or something like that with the Canucks, if you did like the Canucks tonight, before the last game, the game they lost 5-1 in game 6, Vancouver played in 9 straight 1-goal games. 9 straight. So if you're worried about empty net goals, if you're worried about late goals ruining it for you, I mean, this team, whether they were on the winning or losing side of it, 9 straight 1-goal games. But Carm, the thing that we've been saying on PuckTime since PuckTime was ever even a show, can this Oilers team have success when Draisaitl or McDavid aren't scoring? And what did we see in the last game? That was, to me, the difference here with Holloway, Hyman, Bouchard, Nugent-Hopkins, and Kane. And of course, I know Hyman, he was a 50-goal scorer this year. Nugent-Hopkins, still great. Kane has contributed. Holloway, a depth player. But when you can win a game 6, when Draisaitl does not find the score sheet and McDavid doesn't find the score sheet, to me, that's really dangerous. You're going into a game set. I mean, how many times in general did the Oilers this season go back-to-back games without either one of them scoring? To me, it's a really great thing that they were able to win that game without having to have 2 goals and 1 assist from McDavid and them just carry the workload all together. Look, I will say this, and I've kind of been saying this from the get-go. A couple different shows I was on Saturday, I was talking about the Oilers getting back to their old self, Carm, returning to Oilers hockey. Sometimes you just have to do what you do best. And unfortunately for Edmonton, and it worked out for them, what they do best is play fast hockey. So we saw certain stretches during the regular season. I'm looking at it now where they had some games where they won 2-1, they won 3-1, they won some lower scoring games. And you mentioned Stuart Skinner. Stuart Skinner was a big part of that. But I don't even think Stuart Skinner was the reason they won that game. They only gave up 15 shots. They were a puck possession team. And you're going to give me +125 on the team total over 3.5 goals. Carm, someone's getting to 4 here. I truly believe someone will get to 4 here. The total's 5.5. It started at 6, went down to 5.5. Someone will win this game 4-2 or 4-3, I think. And you look at this total now, the team total, at +125, when the regular price, I'm seeing anywhere from 165 to 170. I think that's the best bet here for this Edmonton Oilers team. You mentioned Coach Tocchet, and he has done a phenomenal job at, taking this team where they are right now. But also, we didn't mention, the injuries and the health situation they're going to be without Brock Besser, and that's even more concerning. He's going to be out for Game 7 with blood clotting issues, which is just tragic. You feel for him. I mean, nobody wants to miss a game, let alone a Game 7 in the second round. But anytime I see the depth players starting to show up, and I really don't even think that Evander Kane and Nugent Hopkins should be classified as depth players, Carm, but that to me is a really good thing. So I get it. People might say, okay, these guys are coming on here. They're giving out the favorite. But with the way the Oilers played the last game, some people might say don't read too much into it. I am going to read a lot into it because 9 straight games, 1-goal games that Vancouver played in. And then all of a sudden, the dam just broke open. The floodgates opened up. And some people might say, Carm, I think it's a good thing Vancouver got blown out. I've seen Vancouver fans on Twitter trying to see the bright side of things. No, it's a good thing we got blown out. That way we can come in angry. But I think that if that's the case, and again, McDavid and Draisaitl did not score, I think it's a really, really good thing for the Oilers. What are your thoughts on that? Am I putting too much emphasis on that, Carm, or do you get where I'm coming from here? If Kane and Nugent Hopkins were your best players, it's probably a good thing for the Oilers.
Sorry about that, Andrew. Like I've advocated, so there's a slight disagreement, but I know exactly where you're going with it. So you made some very good points. I've advocated throughout the whole year of sometimes you have to draw a line through a game that just does not make sense on how a team played. Case in point, Winnipeg going into Colorado and spanking them during the regular season 7-0. Yeah. How many times is Colorado going to lose at home 7-0? They did lose games during the regular season and at home and allowed 7 goals. I think the Blues put 7 up on them. But this Vancouver team's played so well for so long. Do you draw a line through it and say this isn't a team that's going to lose 5-1 tonight, or do you say, kind of like what you're implying, is they've been involved in so many close games, a lot of 1-goal games, that this was bound to happen, and it could very well happen again tonight. I get it. The one thing is, it's Game 7 hockey. It's absolutely the best, other than the Stanley Cup Finals going to Game 7. What the divisional final going to Game 7 is going to be absolutely great. Vancouver's going to be rocking tonight in that arena. Let's hope that the same thing does not happen, because it's Victoria Day here in Canada, fireworks day, and the last thing you need is fireworks in the hands of Vancouver Canuck fans if they lose Game 7, because then they are going to blow up the city, Andrew. So, but with that said, I can see that the team total, because it's one of those ones where if you're expecting some goals in this game, someone's going to get the 4 in this one if the totals are at 3.5. And I think the 2.5s are the 2.5 for Vancouver is probably low. I haven't seen what the actual number is on that one. When I talked about the Edmonton first period money line, it's at 130 as opposed to the game being at 162. I'm seeing right now on the odds board. So you're getting lower vig. I think the Oilers if they get through the first period and they're ahead, they're going to win the game. And I'd rather be on a minus 130 play that could push at the end of the first period than being on a 170 play by game time that doesn't get there, and it's a hefty vig loss. What were your thoughts on Skinner? Like I said, Shelov's. I saw that he was confirmed. It's showing Skinner. There's no way they could change away from Skinner after how he played in Game 6. The makeup of the Oilers, Andrew, has always been, over the last few years, we know it, a bunch of superstars and no goalie. You know what I mean? It's different than the Oilers of, the Wayne Gretzky area that had Grant Fuhrer in net, where he played extremely well, but he also had a team that was going to score 5 or 6 goals for him. So it didn't matter if his goals against average was 3.5 or 0.350. The makeup of this team has always been the goaltending. They don't have the goalie to get them through. Is Skinner the guy to get them to the conference finals, where the Dallas Stars are kind of licking their chops waiting right now?
Well, I think the big thing is that are they going to give up 15 shots again? Probably not. Right? That's the thing. They're probably, if you set a line for me on over under on shots the Vancouver Canucks will probably get on net, I'd put that at like 21 and a half, 22 and a half. I mean, so it's at they get 15 the last game. I'm not saying Skinner didn't play well. He was just serviceable. He was just exactly what they needed to be. But I don't think Pickard was that bad either. Carm, I think that just like you and I talk about sometimes during games, when a team, let's say a team goes down 3-0 in the first 15 minutes of a hockey game, they'll pull the goalie. But sometimes it's not even because the goalie's not playing well. It's to try and spark something with the team, right? You can't pull all the players. So how do you wake up the players? You tell the whole team, hey, this goalie is not playing anymore because you guys let him down. So I think after losing the game 5, even though it was a tight game, they kind of go back to Skinner and say, hey, guys, Pickard can't play again because of you. And that's why he's not playing and Skinner's coming back. So I'm a big believer in momentum and the mental aspect of it. I know it might sound funny, Carm, but I think that either Skinner or Pickard would have won the last game for the Oilers. But it's kind of like momentum that kind of sparks things by bringing in a new goalie. And it's so funny because you really wouldn't think about, like, if you ask someone that doesn't really follow hockey too closely and you said, how often do you think they change their goalies? They'd probably tell you, yeah, they just go with the best guy every time. But we've seen so far out of all the teams in the playoffs that have played a game, I would argue, Carm, like 80% of these teams have played multiple goalies so far in the playoffs. And it's because it adds that spark to the lineup. And I think it really does help. I do think Skinner played well. The biggest thing for Skinner is rebounds. Like, if the guy can just freeze the puck, don't try and blocker the puck away. Don't try and, make any kick saves. Freeze the puck whenever you possibly can. I think he'll lead his team to success. And Carm, with us saying this, I want to get ahead of it because I know people will probably comment. We're giving the utmost respect to the Vancouver Canucks. Like, the Canucks have absolutely battled. They have been a very tight forechecking team. They have been a team that's good at protecting their own end. I think Nikita Zadorov was the trade deadline pickup of the year. I really do. He has been unbelievable for the Vancouver Canucks. I just think that, again, like I keep saying, if the Edmonton Oilers get their depth players to even show up in the slightest, Carm, this game is completely different. Evander Kane has a point in 4 of his last 5 games, and his prop bet tonight is plus 105. That's one that I will have in pocket. That will be a 1% client play for me, Carm, because that's how much I feel that the depth is so important for this team. 4 of his last 5 games doing well. As far as the Canucks are concerned, I do think Lindholm will be really important for them. If you guys like the Canucks or you think that they will get more shots this game, I wouldn't mind looking at the over 2.5 shots for Elias Lindholm. But Carm, are there any props that stuck out to you? The only other one that I really would like is Evan Bouchard. He's been a good assist guy over on power play points. He's been I feel like a lot of people don't talk about how important it is to have that slap shot from the point. A lot of teams are missing that because if you have 2 talented wingers that are ready for one-timers, but it's always predictable it's going to go to them, then you kind of have to just like cheat off the point guy. But because of how strong Bouchard's shot is, he keeps them guessing and they have to play him, and then he'll fake the shot and pass it over to Leon or Connor or Hyman. So he's one of the guys I'll certainly be taking some props on. But is there anybody as far as the prop bets you're looking at?
The Bouchard one was the only of the 5 plays that I had Friday and Saturday for clients. The Bouchard one was I tied it into the Oilers win and Bouchard because his shot prop it was at 175, I think it was. It's just way too high. The 165 range, it doesn't sound like much. 10 cents. That's sort of the ceiling when I'm looking at some of these plays. But for him, and he had 2, and they had him at 3 on the NHL site for a little while, and then they changed it back to 2. I think one just went just wide, and then he had 2 or 3 from the point that were blocked. So a little rough one there, but he's been good. 7 of 11 times he's cashed in the playoffs this season. But one guy who has cashed, Andrew, and I did cash with him again, was Zach Hyman. Like Zach Hyman, 4 of 6 games this season, he's gone over 3.5 shots. 4 or 6 games in this series, sorry, he's gone over his shot prop. He's at minus 120 because it's 3.5 shots. But he's gone 4 of 6 games, he's gone over his number, and 7 of 11 times in the playoffs with low vig because his shot prop is at 3.5. So they don't juice those 3.5s into that minus 140 or minus 150 range because people would just come right back and take the unders in those ones with plus money, hoping the guy doesn't hit 4. So that's the, obviously that is one I like. The one thing, and I'm putting both teams aside for a second here, Andrew. The one thing I think is important tonight is for this officiating crew, whoever it is tonight, please just let these guys play hockey, number one, but call the game the way you have called games 1 through 6. If it's a penalty, call a penalty. But the fans are coming out to watch the teams and not you guys in the striped uniforms tonight. Call the game the way it's supposed to be called. If it's a penalty in the first period, it's a penalty in the third period as well too. So call it throughout, because the Oilers power play, if there's any penalties tonight, the Oilers power play is going to get there, Andrew. All goals scored in Game 6 by the Oilers were 5-on-5. So for the people that say the Oilers live and die by their penalty, by their power play, sure, they're very good at it, but it doesn't mean they can't win when they don't score in the power play. And they didn't score in the power play. No power play goals, all goals 5-on-5 for this team. If there's any penalties tonight, I think they're going to be made. The Canucks are going to be made to pay for it tonight. So we'll see what the officiating crew. I have no faith in officials in any sport, Andrew. Whether it's the NFL, NBA, NHL, soccer, I just have no faith in these guys whatsoever. I'd rather producer Dan be an official on the ice because he's going to call it. He's going to call it straight, right, Dan?
I love it. I love it. It's tough because Carm, you're right, man. Because the thing is whatever they pretty much, referees they lay it out for us in the first 10 minutes how they're going to officiate the game. You see a couple hits that might be questionable. You see some stick work. The guys hit, poking at each other, slashing their legs with the stick. You see a couple things that you're like, okay, that's the line. That's the line. And then you see the scrums after the whistle, and you see guys come in and they start pushing each other around. Usually it's the third man in rule, right? So one guy's going at it with another guy. Then the third guy comes in and makes his big push or punch at somebody. He gets the penalty. And so what we've seen a lot are like the tripping calls, the hooking calls, holding calls. Those are the ones that you can't really avoid calling for the referees. But the slashes, guys have been getting away with that. Cross checks, I feel like we see about 10 cross checks every play. The hits have been really rough. It's been a lot of them, but the tripping and that kind of stuff, it's hard for the referees to avoid. So as you mentioned, I'm with you. Whatever you're going to call 5 minutes into the game, you have to call with 5 minutes remaining in the game. And as far as the total goes, Carm, as it probably goes in every NHL game, the total probably depends tonight on the power play. It went over by this total by half last game, and both teams, as you mentioned, 0 for 7 combined. 0 for 3 Vancouver, 0 for 4 the Edmonton Oilers. And it's funny, their record, their percentage during the playoffs before game 5, I think it was at 48%. And that has just come crashing down. This Oilers team, I think they're like 0 for 8 their last, or 0 for 9 their last 9 power plays, Carm. But that certainly plays a factor in the total tonight. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's not for a lack of chances. It's not for a lack of trying. The Oilers have still gotten some very good opportunities on the power play. They just haven't scored. Teams will obviously go through that. My point to like the referee, Andrew, was and because you'll remember this one, and you guys in the chat Well, like, remember this, you look back at like the Carolina and the New York Rangers series. And I'm not talking about how the series played out, but like one specific one, which was um, during an altercation or whatever, a stoppage, um, Jake Gensel takes a penalty, but there's one ref beside him or a linesman, and there's two or three guys literally punching him. So then he throws the last punch that hits Trocheck, and he gets a 2-minute penalty. Are you supposed to just stand there and get hit like a piñata? No, you fight back, but they call the final punch and the final punch only.
Yes.
So at least you send two guys off. You don't send one guy off because that's where the fan bases absolutely lose their, lack of a better word, they lose their shit, is when you have a penalty called on a guy who's getting cross-checked, hit and whatever, and he finally fights back and he's the guy who gets the penalty. It's always the dumbest thing, I feel. So that's the one that I remember, the pinata one with Jake Gensel. But we'll see what we get out of tonight. We shouldn't be capping referees, but
Yeah.
at some point, it's kind of like umpires in baseball. You got to start. These guys need vision tests because they're pretty bad as well.
I don't think it's as important to look at as it is in baseball, but I would be lying to you if I didn't say I look at the referees sometimes who they're going to be during the regular season. If I'm like betting an over or betting an under, you can see which referees call a lot more penalties and which referees let a lot of stuff go. That's for sure. All right, guys, make sure you comment below. Let us know what you are betting tonight in the big Game 7. Man, lots of Game 7s recently. Lots of Game 7s, Nuggets, Timberwolves. We saw that one last night in the NBA. We saw Pacers, Knicks. Now we're getting a shot here in the NHL with the Canucks and the Oilers here. Comment below your best bet. Could be a prop, could be a side, could be a total. And also for people that were able to jump in on the Oilers series price, well, you got a pretty good opportunity now. You got a pretty good plus price in the last game. Now you're riding it out or figuring out a way to secure yourself some money. So drop a comment, guys. Hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel here on WagerTalk. We really, really do appreciate it. All right, Carm, I'm not sure if you have your opinion established yet, and it's completely fine if not, but I'm seeing minus 150 favorites for the Panthers here. Rangers plus 130 in the series price. So not the game, but the series all together here. You go through all these props. I'm seeing 6 games as far as the series number. How long will it go? 6 games, no matter who wins, plus 200. 7 games, plus 210. 5, plus 275. 4 games, which would be crazy, is 6-1. What sticks out to you, Carm? I'm looking at some of these spreads right now for the series, some of the exact series scores. Is there anything that sticks out to you that's worth mentioning before we head out?
This is the one play I'm going to make as far as series goes in this one, Andrew. And I haven't really figured out who I want to take yet, but this has got to go 6 or 7 games. So if you look at a place like DK, and I'm going to shop around first to find the best possible prices, but DK has the series to go exactly 6 games at plus 200, and then you have to go 7 games plus 210. So um, you could essentially take both and get yourself an even money price. And if it goes to 6 or 7 games, you're going to cash. And that's what I feel I'm going to do. Is I don't. This is not going to be a sweep. As good as the Rangers are, as well as Florida has played, I don't see any team winning this series of 4-0. I don't even see the gentleman's sweep of 4-1. So when you remove those ones and it's going to go 6 or 7 games, I'm just going to, as far as the series price, so I don't have to essentially sweat the 4-1 because it's not going to be 4-0. To sweat the 4-1 gentleman's sweep is I'm just going to take even money by combining those two together, the series to go 6 or 7 games, and take that. It's just what I want to do is make a bet that I think has a high implied probability of hitting and go with that one. So that's all I'm looking at this point, Andrew. Thoughts on that one?
I like it, Carm. Yeah, I like it. And I think that we're going to see a good series here in this one. I'm going to be kind of I guess it's not really contrarian, but everybody roots for game sevens, right? We all root for a game seven, and we saw game seven here in the series we just mentioned with Vancouver and Edmonton. But if we think about it, have we really had that many game sevens this year in the playoffs? There's two things we're missing in the playoffs this year compared to last year. It's game sevens and overtimes. We haven't had nearly as many overtimes and not nearly as many game sevens. That's for sure. Look at how in the second round, Carm, I think every single series had one team up 3-1. Look at Dallas. You look at Vancouver, right? They had it. Yeah, Vancouver, New York. You just see it across all series. They were just leading and dominating. And if for some reason we haven't seen those, so I kind of like the plus 200 on the series to end in 6 games. It just seems like a very probable number. And I know you're not getting the most exhilarant price on this by any means, but it's kind of a good way to start off your base, start off your little portfolio of betting a specific series here, plus 200. And I know that you can kind of work your way around things. You can kind of track things in your spreadsheet, making sure based on how your results are going game by game, how you're looking. But for example, if a team is, on the verge of winning in 6 and it's in the 6th game, and you go into that with the plus 200 ticket, that's kind of like whatever team is favored. Let's say they're the favorites to win. Let's say it's the Florida Panthers and they're up 3-2. You're seeing a minus price on the Panthers, but for you a plus 200 ticket in your back pocket, right? So I think that's kind of nice, is to look at kind of, okay, how many games you think it'll be. New York and Florida, it's going to be a respectable series. It will go back and forth. But the plus 200 number, I think, for the exact number of games for it to end in, I think is a really good one. The most goals, the series most goals here in this one. Carm, I think it's really hard not to look at Chris Kreider, man. I mean, is that an example of recency bias? Absolutely it is. It 100% is an example of recency bias. But when a guy backpacks your team in the third period, he says, hey, guys, I got this. I'm going to score a goal for you. And he scores 3. And you're going to give me plus 750 on him to be the leading scorer in the series. 3 of the top 4 players, as far as the odds in the most goals this series, are Florida Panther players. Reinhart, Verhaeghe, Tkachuk. And then you have Panarin at plus 475. Plus 750 I'm seeing for Chris Kreider to have the most goals. That's a pretty good one. And another one that I would like, if you were looking at a Florida Panthers prop, would be plus 550 on Barkov to get the most points. Because Barkov might not score the most goals, Carm, but he is so underrated with his passing out there. He's always involved, whether it's him scoring or him getting assists. He's had a really good playoff so far. So I think the value there on the highest score would be Kreider, and the most points will go with Barkov.
All right, I like it. I'm going to go with the bread man, Andrew. You know me. I love the bread man. I don't like the carbs, man. I came back from St. Martin. I ate a salad and thought it would help with all the weight that I gained while on this trip. The treadmill once the playoffs are over for me. But Panarin, man, um, you said plus 470. That would be an absolutely great price on Panarin to get the most points. Andrew, I got one last question, and then we'll talk about what we have up at Wager Talk and send it out because Dan's got to prepare for the next show. Is assuming, and you know what happens when you assume, but let's say for a second the Edmonton Oilers win tonight. Who is your dream NHL Stanley Cup Finals pairing of the 4 remaining teams?
Assuming you said assuming Edmonton wins. I
Assuming
think
Edmonton wins.
Edmonton
But you can
wins.
you can throw in the 5th. Just throw in the 5th.
No, well, I
Vancouver
mean,
as
look.
well too.
So I've heard a lot of people floating around New York versus Dallas, and just thinking that they're a team of destiny right now. one thing about Florida is that they're so healthy that I think they have a really good shot. But I think the dream matchup as a Canadian, the Edmonton Oilers getting to the Stanley Cup Finals would be unbelievable. You'd have a whole country behind them, the best player on the planet, McDavid. Then you've got the New York Rangers, Madison Square Garden, a good example of a young team with lots of older players as well, like Kreider, Zibanejad, a good goaltender. To me, Oilers versus Rangers would almost feel like USA versus Canada. I mean, that would be unbelievable. That would be a great, great series. What about you?
That's it. You nailed it there. Those are the two. I think it would be exciting hockey. Don't know who would win, but I think it would be exciting hockey where neither team is looking to essentially shut them down and keep a team to 15 or 16 shots on goal. You know what I mean? That's been Vancouver's sort of um, what their game plan pretty much in every series where there were a lot of low shot total games. I think as fans, you want to see some action on the ice. I'm old school, but during the regular season, I don't mind 2-1 games. In the playoffs, in the Stanley Cup Finals, I want to see some 4-3 games. It's my preference, and I think the better chance of that happening is with the New York Rangers playing the Edmonton Oilers. I think it would be a great Stanley Cup 7-game series.
I just can't wait. Can't wait for tonight, Carm. We won't get ahead of ourselves. We'll watch tonight, then we'll see what happens. We'll of course be back tomorrow to break down Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, New York versus Florida. Carm, for me, it's been a good week. Good little run here. No crazy streaks to bring up. Just steady. 64% over the last week. That's all sports. We're hitting NBA. We're hitting NHL. We've got MLB going on. And as I mentioned, I even cashed 2 WNBA tickets. So you got to like that. But last night, it was a great feeling in the NBA. I had the Denver Nuggets first half. They look great in the first half, and then they lose the game outright after being up 20 points. Man, that felt good to have the first half there. But up over around 12 units over the last week. So I'll take that. Slow and steady wins the race here. And big play for me tonight in the NHL. Also have a best bet 4% play there in the MLB. So looking forward to a great Monday, Carm. How about yourself? What do you have going on?
We'll get it, and good luck to you, Andrew. NHL tonight. 3 plays in the NHL tonight. Play and props pack. Let's see if we can get it going. Like I said, Friday and Saturday, 4-1. So let's build off of that. And 3 plays up in Italian Serie A soccer this afternoon. First game goes at 12:30 Eastern time. So maybe pick up a 1-day all access and get all of those. I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna have a package up shortly. Melissa's getting it together for me. The 3 big soccer tournaments this summer, the Euro 2024s. I'll be recording a video with Kelly in the next few days. As far as that one goes, the Copa America, which is taking place in the U.S. for the first time, you get to see teams like Brazil, Argentina, obviously Canada, U.S., Mexico. It's going to be a great tournament in the U.S. And then the Leagues Cup with all the MLS and Liga MX teams from Mexico. 3 big tournaments going on this summer, so plenty of action. You can get all of those and the rest of the NHL playoffs in one for one great deal. That'll be up on my page. Andrew, I'm looking forward to it. Game 7 tonight. I'll probably hit a sports bar with a couple of my buddies, and then golfing tomorrow since we have no show. I'm going to hit the links and hopefully try and break about 120. I'm not Scott Scheffler. Shame what happened to him. But with that said, Andrew, take us home.
Yes, and thanks for correcting me there, Carm. That's my bad. On Wednesday, we'll be back. I said we'll be back tomorrow, but on Wednesday, we will be back. So, Carm, maybe I'll try and book a tea time myself. I'll have the day off there with the NHL. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Enjoy Game 7. Comment below what you are betting tonight. Please hit the like button on this video, and you can find our favorite and best bets over at WagerTalk.com. See you next time.